Hi, I'm Richard Vague with Tycos. The news that Microsoft had entered a long-term agreement to purchase electricity from Pennsylvania's dormant and almost defunct Three Mile Island stunned observers, especially those who remembered the Three Mile Island nuclear meltdown, the Chernobyl disaster, and even the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan. And it wasn't just Microsoft. Amazon and Google said they were focusing on a new generation of small modular nuclear reactors, which, though not yet successfully commercialized, may be cheaper and easier to build than the large nuclear reactors that the United States has built heretofore. So why is this happening? Well, electricity has for decades been a humdrum, middling growth industry. This chart shows per capita electricity consumption back to 1950, and you can see it has actually been declining since the 2000s. But now, with the ravenous electricity demands of data centers that serve internet use, the more widespread adoption of electric vehicles, the hogging of processing power, and the need for complex chip foundries of the artificial intelligence industry, along with crypto mining, it looks as though electricity industry is now poised for high growth. In fact, if it were a country, Bitcoin crypto mining alone would rank 25th in global electricity consumption, ahead of the entire national consumption of countries like Poland and Malaysia. So sleepy no more. Here's the forecast of the U.S. Energy Information Administration, which shows industrial energy consumption growing from just over 30 quadrillion BTUs to almost 45 quadrillion in a little over 2 decades. Recently, the consulting group Rystad Energy has forecast that total U.S. electricity demand, which has remained relatively stable at around 4,000 terawatt hours since 2010, will grow by almost 500 additional terawatt hours over the next few years, with data centers and electric vehicles contribute 300 terawatt hours of the gain. The thing to note is that increasing the supply of electricity is one of the most difficult construction tasks an economy can face. It's not like building houses or small manufacturing plants. Building new power generation plants, including the permitting and approvals required, can take years, if not decades. So forecasting need with enough lead time is critical. Now, if you're focused on the environment, all this unexpected demand is likely concerning. But if instead you're focused on GDP growth alone, it's great news. This may perhaps surprise you, but far from lamenting when we have a critical shortage in a given sector, that very shortage is the best possible news for future economic growth. In our economy, there is always money to meet the demand that this kind of need brings, and usually that money comes in the form of debt, and overcoming and addressing deficiencies is the perfect recipe, therefore, for strong growth. So, how is the utility industry set to meet that needed growth? Well, we of course will hear about the shortage of skilled professionals and materials and supplies. But the most important resource to address undersupply or deficiency, really in any sector, is the capacity to take on more debt. And on that count, the industry is well positioned. Utility sector debt has been stable at 7 to 8% of GDP for over a decade. And in the closely related energy sector, that ratio has actually been declining from 7% to 4% in roughly the same span. And though both these industries have had rough patches from a credit loss standpoint over the last decade, they are both now in good shape. So the net is the electricity industry can readily afford the expansion it now faces. That's it for this week. Thanks.